at just before 2 a.m. A call from his girlfriend's young children startled a 43-year-old Florida man awake. It was late on a school night, and their unexpected call immediately signaled something was amiss. Despite being groggy, he answered his phone, only to hear their panicked voices making a claim that sounded utterly unreal. Driven by a desperate need to understand what was happening, he raced to his girlfriend's residence. What he found inside would leave an indelible mark on him. Neighbors later recounted being awakened by law enforcement personnel seeking information from their security cameras, expressing shock and sadness about the tragic events. This case is one that profoundly impacts even those who regularly encounter difficult stories. The level of planning, emotional detachment, and manipulative behavior displayed are characteristics often associated with psychopathy. This account takes us to Cocoa, Florida, a smaller community in Brevard County. Situated on the Space Coast, Cocoa is known for its historic charm and proximity to the Kennedy Space Center, where rocket launches are a frequent spectacle. Life there generally moves at a more unhurried pace. Local lore suggests the city's name originated from an elderly woman who served hot cocoa to passing sailors along the Indian River, who would call out "Cocoa, Cocoa" upon arrival. This history painted the city as a generally peaceful and welcoming place. Cocoa typically sees crime rates slightly below the national average, often overshadowed by the bustling tourism industry and nearby beaches. However, in early 2023, the city's tranquil reputation was brutally shattered by an atrocity that left the entire community reeling. It was a mild 66 degrees shortly before 2 a.m. on Wednesday, March 1, 2023, when Kevin D., sleeping in Rockledge, Florida, was abruptly awakened by his cell phone. It was a video call from an unexpected number, his girlfriend Constance Terwilliger's 15-year-old daughter, Kiara. However, when Kevin answered, the image wasn't Kiara but her two younger brothers, aged 6 and 9. They described being woken by sounds of crackling and screaming. Moments later, they discovered their family members critically injured and unresponsive. Kevin immediately drove to Constance's house in Cocoa, maintaining the call with the boys. Arriving at the residence, he entered through the front door and was immediately confronted by the sight of two deceased adults on the floor. His first priority was moving the boys to his car, away from the horrific scene. They were later placed in the care of relatives. As he re-entered the house to contact emergency services, a single question consumed him. Who could possibly commit such an act, and why? Kevin reported to the dispatcher that his girlfriend's son had called him, stating his parents were dead. He had just arrived at the house, unsure what was happening, and found the grandmother, the mother, the father of the younger children, and the sister all deceased, with only the boys surviving. He noted a significant amount of blood throughout the scene. Deputies from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office arrived quickly and entered the home, where they found 63-year-old Glenda Mae Terwilliger dead in the north bedroom from an apparent gunshot wound to the face. In the living room, they discovered Glenda's daughter, 35-year-old Constance Marie Terwilliger, and her ex-boyfriend, 36-year-old Michael Andrew Watson, both shot in the head and lying in a pool of blood. In the south bedroom, 15-year-old Kiara Terwilliger was also found dead from a gunshot wound. The scene marked the tragic loss of 3 generations of Terwilliger women. No suspects were inside, and police established a perimeter as neighbors expressed shock and sorrow for the surviving children. Officers interviewed Kevin, who provided details about the victims and named Domenico Gigante, 24, as a person of interest. Domenico, Kiara's estranged father, had a difficult relationship with her after years of absence and had recently tried to reconnect. Kevin mentioned a harsh text Domenico sent Kiara the day before the murders, and reports surfaced that Domenico had behaved inappropriately toward his daughter, prompting police suspicion. Homicide detectives took over the investigation, focusing on motive and reconstructing the crime. Evidence at the home, including forced entry marks, shell casings, and bloody footprints, pointed to a violent attack. Public records revealed Domenico's history of serious crimes, aggravated assault, battery with a deadly weapon, domestic violence, and animal cruelty, highlighting a pattern of violent behavior that made him the prime suspect. Records showed that Domenico Gigante lived on Matador Drive in Rockledge, Florida, and drove a silver 1998 Dodge pickup. Surveillance footage near the crime scene captured his truck arriving at 1:19 a.m. Headlights off. Minutes later, Loud noises and 9 gunshots were recorded before the truck left. Detectives visited Domenico's home later that morning to notify him of his daughter Chiara's death. He reacted with disbelief but showed no emotion, raising officers' suspicions. Inside, his roommate confronted him, and Domenico reportedly confessed to shooting his daughter 3 times. The roommate, visibly shaken, later told detectives that Domenico had threatened the night before to kill them all, and provided doorbell footage showing Domenico leaving with a gun shortly before the murders. Detectives confronted Domenico with this evidence during questioning. He initially denied leaving home or owning a gun but changed his story when pressed, claiming he visited someone named Jim Harper, though he couldn't provide contact info. When shown video evidence of him carrying a gun, Domenico ended the interview. Later that day, Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey announced Domenico's arrest on 4 counts of premeditated first-degree murder, citing his violent past, including domestic violence, animal cruelty, and aggravated assault. In a recorded jailhouse call days later, Domenico asked his roommate to take the blame for the murders, suggesting he would pursue an insanity defense. A grand jury indicted him on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of armed burglary, qualifying him for the death penalty. He remains held without bond as the case moves through the legal system, with a hearing scheduled for March 6, 2025, to determine its readiness for trial. The prosecution has vowed to seek the maximum punishment, pursuing justice for the victims of this horrific crime.